When you think of famous, beautiful Hollywood actresses, oftentimes you're going to go back about 75 years or so, where all of the beautiful women at that time did movies, always known for their beauty, and they would become a big star simply because of their good looks. And if Betty Grable is not in your top at least 20 in terms of most beautiful actresses of all time, well then I would disagree with you. Actually, she's in my top 10. One day I'm going to do a top 10 video on this channel. It's a lot of work because you have to go to the locations of the graves and what have you. But one day I am going to do it. So today we're at one of my favorite cemeteries in the nation, Inglewood. And we're going to visit the final resting place of Betty Grable. Betty Grable was born December 18th, 1916 in St. Louis, Missouri. Her father was a stockbroker. Her mother was insane. Now, I don't know what the hell was her mother's trip, but she was one of those mothers that desperately wanted her daughter to be famous. It was almost an obsession. You ever see those mothers? Hey, look at my kid. She could do this. Oh, look at my kid. He's so handsome. He could do that. Let's take pictures. Hey, dance in front of my friends. See how talented you are. And if there was a talent competition or if there was a beauty pageant, Betty was there. She was going to participate in that pageant, in that talent show. Honestly, just if anything, it was absolutely, truly an obsession. Just one of those overbearing mothers. So much so that when Betty was 12, they took a quote unquote vacation out here to Los Angeles because damn that she was not gonna get her daughter into some form or another, some movie, somehow, some which way. Now, I'm sure Betty loved her mother. Of course she did. But maybe she's seen through her daughter what she wanted really for herself. Could it be one of those things? I don't know. I'm not a Dr. Phil. Regardless of the situation, so they come out here to Hollywood. Now, at the time, Betty's 12. Betty's 12, and it's 1928. Now, at that time, there was a rule that to be a some form or another, there was a rule to sign a certain contract or another, she had to be 15 to find work. Now, I don't know exactly how that works because there's plenty of child actors and actresses from that time. But when they went to 20th Century Fox, in the contract, for her to get work with them, she had to be 15 years old. So Betty's mom, Lillian, she lied. And she said, yeah, my daughter's 15. She just turned 15. Looks kind of young. Yeah, because she's 12. She just turned 15. So they signed her up. And later, I guess some of the people in the studio were like, you know what, this girl's really not 15. So later she would get fired from that studio. But at the time, she did find a little bit of work, I guess as just kind of like a chorus girl in the background of some low-end movies or whatever. So later on, after that debacle, as she got older, she would sign up with Paramount Pictures. And she did a couple movies with Paramount. Nothing that she was a star in or nothing like that at all. It was pretty much all just quick movies, whatever you want to call it. In 1936, Betty finally gets her big break because she's set to star in a movie that 20th Century Fox is making. So back in those days, when an actor or an actress was signed to a particular movie company like RKO, Paramount, MGM, 20th Century, they would sign a contract where, you only make movies for those companies. However, sometimes they would trade. Sometimes MGM would say, you know what, there's an actress that is signed to 20th Century. Can we, we'll give you X amount of dollars if we could use them for a movie. That's how it worked back in those days. So they see Betty, and she's a very, very good-looking girl, and they cast her in that movie. It was called Pigskin Parade. The only problem with that movie is, well, there's another co-star, and her name is Judy Garland. So Betty didn't really make it out of that movie the way she wanted to. She didn't become a big star of that. And that's because, well, Judy Garland's beautiful too. And that's how Judy Garland, I believe that would be her first big picture. So going into the 1936, later on, I think that year, maybe 1935, she met Jackie Coogan, who was a very immensely famous childhood actor. He's the little kid that was in Charlie Chaplin's movie, The Kid. And of course, later played Uncle Fester. I believe I did a video about him. I'll put it in the link in the description box below if you guys want to see that. So they married, but their marriage only lasted a little over a year because during that time, Jackie Coogan had been basically robbed blind by his parents. So the stress of him losing millions of dollars to his own parents and all the court proceedings put a strain on that marriage. So they would end up getting divorced. Now, at this time, Betty is, she's a working actress, but she's not making it big. But people kind of know who she is, but she's not a name in homes that people would say, oh, Betty Grable. She's not a big star. She's getting offered these typecast roles where she's always, playing a dumb college girl. Something like that. Playing up on her beauty, but the roles were not beneficial to someone who is considering themselves a serious actress. So she's getting tired of Hollywood. Paramount is seeing that her movies aren't doing so hot. So they would let her go, and maybe Betty's thinking, maybe this acting thing isn't what it's cracked up to be. Now, mind you, remember, her mother is the one that put her up on getting into Hollywood and this and that. Maybe she wants to do something else. Who knows? Who knows? So later, after she leaves Hollywood, she goes to Broadway. She goes to Broadway and she wins a part in a play called Dewberry Was a Lady, or Is a Lady. So that play gets amazing reviews. It is, I guess, what you would call a smash, a bona fide smash, right? So one of the executives from 20th Century Fox, mind you, the same people that fired her, right? So one of the executives, Daryl Zanuck, sees the play and he's like, yeah, we got it. This lady's going to be a star. We gotta sign her. I want her in our next movie. Down Argentine Way was Betty Grable's first big hit. It starred her, and it also starred Carmen Miranda. So in that movie, it's one of those movies where like a lot of filming in different countries. At the time, a big budget motion picture. So in that movie, Betty Grable, she got a little bit lucky because originally 20th Century, they were pushing this actress. Her name was Alice Faye. She was supposed to star in that movie. The only reason why she didn't make it in was because I think she got sick. I think she needed to have an emergency appendectomy or something like that. So she stars in that movie, and the next thing you know, she's signing a long-term contract with 20th Century Fox, and she would go on to star in some pretty big movies. Her next big movie was 1942's Springtime in the Rockies, and it is on the set of that movie that she would meet her second future husband, Harry James. Now, her marriage to Harry James had created a little bit of controversy because, well, number one, Harry was kind of still married to his wife, so he had to end up getting a quickie divorce. Also, while they were dating, not quite married yet, Betty becomes pregnant. Now, a different time in 1941, 1942, so she tells the 20th Century guys, hey, I got pregnant, so probably ain't gonna be doing any movies for a while. And immediately they tell them to get married ASAP, because if they did not, it would look very bad for both of them and for the movie studio. So they got a quickie marriage after his quickie divorce. And they would be married for the next 22 years. Harry was a serial philanderer, couldn't keep his pants on, a lot of drinking, a lot of just infighting. They would end up getting divorced in 1965. Fun fact about Betty Grable: her legs were insured for $1 million. And that, of course, is how she was known. She was known for her legs. She had like the best looking legs in the game. It was probably a publicity stunt that worked. And also, everybody knows that iconic image of Betty Grable that was used as to print out posters for the war effort during World War II, where soldiers would see a hot chick and they're like, "Yeah, boys, this is what you're fighting for." Something like that, right? This is what you're fighting for. During the 1940s, Betty Grable was the highest paid. From 1941 to 1951, Betty Grable was the highest paid female actress in the nation, right? She was a pretty big deal. Now, she would go on to star in maybe 60, not star, but she was played roles in a lot of movies. I want to say 60. Don't quote me. I do want to say 60. But she would also make some mistakes in her career, because oftentimes she would be offered roles in certain movies that she would not take because she felt that she wasn't right for the part. Like maybe the part was too challenging, or maybe she felt like the co-star, she was intimidated by them. And that would later go back to bite her in the butt several times. Once in 1947, when she turned down the role in a movie called Razor's Edge. Well, she turned that down, and Ann Baxter did it. She starred in that movie, and she would go on to win an Oscar. So at this time, she's a big deal. She's a big actress, but there's a problem. See, she wants to get paid more money. She feels that she's not making enough money, and I would agree with her, because actresses didn't make the money that they make today. It's not even close. I think in her total career earnings, she earned $3 million, which is good, but that's nothing as to compare to what the studios were paying. So she walks into the boss's office, Zanuck's office, and she takes her contract and she rips it up. She said, "This is bullcrap. I want more money. I deserve it. I'm a big star." And Zanuck says, "I'll do you one better than that. You're fired. You're fired." And that would later go on to bite her in the butt, because the next movie that she was set to star in Was this movie called Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Yeah, she was supposed to be in that movie. So, because they fired her, she was later replaced by Marilyn Monroe. Wow, that's gotta suck. So later on, they kiss and make up, and at this time now, Betty Grable she's not aging, but she's starting to slow down because, possibly she's just getting burnt out on this whole Hollywood thing, right? She's getting burnt out on the Hollywood thing, and she's starting to realize, I can't keep playing these parts in these movies where I'm like some cute blonde dancing and singing and men are lusting after me or whatever, because there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to start aging. Now, maybe she did start aging and we can't really see it because she was all dolled up and made up, whatever. But she would later go on to star in a movie with Lauren Bacall and Marilyn Monroe called How to Marry a Millionaire. Now, a lot of people would think that a rivalry would have started between Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable, right? Because Marilyn Monroe became a mega superstar from that movie that she was supposed to be in. So you think you have two beautiful women, two blondes, right? You would think that both of them would, be jealous of each other. That is the furthest from the case. No, they adored each other. Marilyn loved Betty, and Betty loved Marilyn, and they were pretty good friends off of the movie sets. And during a photo shoot for that movie, How to Marry a Millionaire, Betty had noticed that the paint on Marilyn's toes was not up to par, if you will. So she could have just ignored her and said, you know what? I'm gonna let her figure that one out on her own, right? I'm gonna let her figure that one out on her own. But no, she actually gave Marilyn a pedicure herself before that photo shoot. That kind of shows you the kind of person that Betty Grable was. And sadly, Betty Grable, she acted at a time where it was hip and cool to smoke. And, Betty was a heavy smoker all her life, which you wouldn't have really known because she didn't really have a smoker's voice. But then oftentimes that is a telltale sign of a woman that smokes or whatever. So later on, sometime later, after all of that, she actually just ended up leaving Hollywood. Now, a lot of times, when actresses, when they, when they're doing Hollywood movies, they would like age gracefully and start taking different roles, if you will. But she just kind of retired, and she would later sell her house. I think Carol Burnett is the one that actually bought her house. So she ended up moving with her husband at the time, Harry James, who by this time now they have two kids, and they moved to Las Vegas. I think their house is no longer there because I want to say it was by where the Tropicana was being built. So I think their house is gone now. If their house is still there, I'll have to look that up. I'm not a big fan of going to like actors and actresses' former homes unless I like them. Like, I'm not gonna go to somebody's house. I've never been into that. But I don't know, sometimes when I read these stories and, me as a little kid, looking stuff up, I kind of think like, maybe I do want to go see where they live. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Betty Grable. One of the most beautiful women in all of Hollywood of all time. And of course, that is her mother who got her there. And to their right and one below, this is Con Grable, this is her father, and Marjorie, that's her sister. It's always so odd that as famous and well known that Betty Grable was, here she is just kind of amongst the regular folk here at this mausoleum. And all of these people, no matter if they were famous or not, they all have a story. Just like you do and just like I do, and one day we'll have when we all pass from this earthly plane. Her husband, who was he wasn't an actor, he was like a famous like a band leader or something like that. He's buried out in Las Vegas. I might go stop by, pay him a visit, or at least just take a picture. Yeah, so Betty passed, like I said earlier, she was a heavy smoker and she died of lung cancer. And by the time she died, I wouldn't say she was flat broke, but she pretty much was. She had basically lived off of her savings that she had made being an actress in Hollywood. Very, very young to die. Rest in peace to the Grable family. Forever she will be immortalized in Hollywood film and pictures. Just truly, truly a stunning beauty, to say the least. All right, guys, I'm out of here. We're gonna go outside and hang a left. See you on the next video. Peace out.